What is going on, guys? If all or at least most NFL GMs do it correctly and logically, the 2020 NFL trade deadline could be a doozy. Every club has at least one player that could use a fresh start. Without further ado, we present one player that every NFL team should trade during the 2020 season. Arizona Cardinals, HAASON Reddick. The linebacker out of Temple has been merely average in every aspect, and the Cardinals have enough talent on defense with Isaiah Simmons, Patrick Peterson, and Chandler Jones. If Reddick doesn't put it together in a make-or-break year, the Cardinals should just trade him away for a late-round pick. Somebody out there will want to take a chance on Reddick, who just hasn't fit in Arizona whatsoever. Atlanta Falcons Takk McKinley. McKinley, like Reddick, was another 2017 first-round pick who's entering a make-or-break year with his team. The Falcons declined his fifth-year option, so McKinley really has to step it up here if he wants to stick around long-term. But if he doesn't break out under new defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, don't be surprised if the Falcons give McKinley a fresh start. May as well fetch a late-round pick of some sort, rather than let him leave in free agency. Baltimore Ravens Matthew Judon. The Ravens will be up against the cap soon, with the likes of Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, and Ronnie Stanley eventually needing lucrative long-term extensions down the road. Judon might be the Ravens' best pass rusher, but it's hard to see them retaining him beyond the 2020 season. GM Eric DeCosta should look to gain a valuable draft pick or another impact player in a Judon trade. There's more than enough depth in their front seven to get by without him. Buffalo Bills Trent Murphy. The veteran pass rusher is a free agent after the 2020 season. The Bills have so much talent on defense, and they can easily survive without Murphy. GM Brandon Beane should look at trading Murphy for a pick, or they could always use some help along the offensive line. Carolina Panthers KAWANN Short. The Panthers are rebuilding under new head coach Matt Rule. They should look to sell several veteran players for draft picks. And veteran defensive end KAWANN Short would be a great start. Lots of teams will be interested in a quality pass rusher and run stopper. May as well trade him while his value is high. Chicago Bears Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky isn't the answer. Nick Foles has already taken over starting duties in the Windy City, so the Bears' next stop should be to trade Trubisky and get something for him while they still can. Sure, it may suck getting nothing more than a late-round pick for your former second overall quarterback, but sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and cut your losses. Cincinnati Bengals AJ Green. Now on the wrong side of 30, with a recent injury history, Green only has so many prime years left. If the Bengals don't trade him in 2020, they'll likely lose him for nothing in free agency. Green could easily land a second or third round pick in a trade, so why not take the draft capital while you rebuild around Joe Burrow? Cleveland Browns Olivier Vernon. Vernon was a strong offseason cut candidate, but the Browns wound up restructuring his deal. With Myles Garrett and Sheldon Richardson in the fold, the Browns don't really need Vernon. He's not going to be retained beyond the 2020 season, so it would make sense for GM Andrew Berry to trade him for a draft pick or perhaps some O-line or secondary depth. Dallas Cowboys Connor Williams. America's team has one of the NFL's elite offensive lines anchored by Pro Bowlers Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. But if Jerry Jones wants to make another blockbuster midseason trade, he may have to move out one of his standout linemen. Young guard Connor Williams would appeal to many teams. Might be wise to trade Williams while his value is high. Plus, the Cowboys might not be able to afford him when his rookie deal is up. Denver Broncos Philip Lindsay. We don't understand giving $16 million to Melvin Gordon when you already have a stud back in Lindsay. But clearly GM John Elway isn't super keen on paying Lindsay top dollar. If Gordon proves he can handle the load in Denver's rebuild offense, what's the point of keeping two running backs? If that's the case, Elway's best bet is to just trade Lindsay to a running back needy team, and there could be a lot of them with all the injuries this season. Detroit Lions Jared Davis. The Lions haven't gotten much out of the 21st overall pick from 2017, and head coach Matt Patricia doesn't come off as a guy who's able to get the most out of his players. The Lions are always rebuilding their defense under GM Bob Quinn. Wouldn't surprise us in the slightest if they cut their losses and send Davis away at the trade deadline. How about trading him to old friend Bill Belichick and the Patriots? Green Bay Packers JAMAAL Williams. Williams has displayed the ability to be a starting running back, but he's not going to take that role away from workhorse Aaron Jones. And the Packers used their second round pick on A.J. Dillon, making Williams even more expendable. If a team gets desperate for running back help leading up to the deadline, don't be surprised if they pursue Williams. And the Packers should be happy to trade him, since they have two other quality backs to work around. Houston Texans Kenny Stills. The cap-strapped Texans don't need all four of Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and Kenny Stills. The latter should attract plenty of interest on the trade market, given his ability to stretch the field with his lightning-quick speed. The Texans need help in the secondary and on their O-line. They should see if they can swap Stills for a defensive back or a veteran offensive lineman with a similar cap hit. Indianapolis Colts Jacoby Brissett. The Colts signed their QB of the present in Philip Rivers during free agency. They drafted their hopeful QB of the future Washington product Jacob Eason in the 4th round of the 2020 draft. That makes Brissett expendable here. Lots of teams could use him as valuable quarterback insurance. Indianapolis might be able to fetch a decent roster player or a 3rd or 4th round pick for him. So why not trade Brissett now, knowing you're set with Rivers now and Eason later? Jacksonville Jaguars, Andrew Norwell. The Jaguars simply haven't gotten much out of the 5-year $66.5 million deal they handed to veteran guard Andrew Norwell in 2018. GM David Caldwell continued the tank job by trading away Yannick Ngakoue and by releasing Leonard Fournette before the season. May as well just give Norwell away at the deadline if you can find any takers. Clear out all the cap space you can and keep stocking up on those draft picks. Kansas City Chiefs, Demarcus Robinson. A team with aspiration of becoming a dynasty should be looking to trade any core players. But Chiefs GM Brett Veach should test the market on wideout Demarcus Robinson, who's set to enter free agency in 2021. Kansas City has more than enough offensive weapons for Patrick Mahomes. Could be a nice impact player for another team. Veach should try to swap Robinson for a draft pick or even a defensive back to help his secondary. Las Vegas Raiders, Jalen Richard. The Raiders have one of the NFL's best running backs in Josh Jacobs, and Devontae Booker is capable of filling in the number 2 role. Richard doesn't have a long-term future with the Raiders, and he's signed through 2021. May as well get rid of him before the cap woes kick in. Los Angeles Chargers, Hunter Henry. Injuries have prevented a young tight end from reaching a Pro Bowl level, and the Chargers will soon be up against the cap, with Joey Bosa and Keenan Allen's monster extension kicking in soon. The Chargers have enough playmaking weapons on offense. They should trade Henry for valuable draft capital before he likely walks in 2021 free agency. They could get a quality return for him too. Los Angeles Rams, Gerald Everett. Tyler Higbee stepped up as the Rams' top tight end in 2019, which puts the pressure on Everett, even if the latter produces nicely in 2020. The cap-strapped Rams can't afford to keep both tight ends long term. Everett would be a fun reclamation project for a team like Green Bay, or New England, or Seattle. But the Rams should probably just cut their losses and trade him, knowing they have another high-quality tight end in Higbee. Miami Dolphins, Matt Breida. The Dolphins have a very crowded backfield that consists of names like Jordan Howard, Myles Gaskin, Breida, and Lynn Bowden Jr. No way Brian Flores needs all these guys. And with the Fins still in rebuilding mode, why not add even more draft capital? Matt Breida may be the biggest name in that backfield, so he'd probably fetch the biggest return. That alone makes him the best trade asset among the Dolphins running backs. Minnesota Vikings, Kyle Rudolph. The Vikings have very limited cap space. Anthony Harris, Yannick Ngakoue, and Dalvin Cook need some new contracts. And the Vikings have a promising young tight end in Irv Smith Jr. Rudolph is a good player, but many can win without him. They should deal Rudolph's pricey contract before it becomes a major burden. Lots of teams would be happy to take a chance on the 2-time Pro Bowler. New England Patriots, Julian Edelman. Bill Belichick loves getting rid of players 1 year early rather than 1 year too late. Age and injuries may catch up to the crafty slot receiver soon. And with Tom Brady gone, how much does Edelman really have left? Belichick knows he can replace Edelman easily. May as well trade the fading star before his value goes down. New Orleans Saints, Janoris Jenkins. The Saints are in win-now mode and shouldn't trade any of their core players. But pricey veteran corner Janoris Jenkins could find himself on the move with major cap woes looming. If the Saints defense continues to struggle with him in the lineup, they'll surely look to trade Jenkins away. New York Jets, Sam Darnold. Let's face it, Darnold just isn't cutting it in the Big Apple. He hasn't looked anything close to the franchise signal caller the Jets thought they were getting when they selected him 3rd overall in 2018. It looks like the Jets will have another chance to draft an elite quarterback prospect in 2021. If that's the case, they might want to consider trading Darnold immediately, before his stock drops anymore. It's already too late for them to get a 1st rounder for the former USC quarterback. If they wait any longer, they can probably kiss their chances of getting a 2nd rounder goodbye as well. New York Giants, Golden Tate. That 4-year, $37.5 million deal never made sense. The Giants are rebuilding and don't need a past his prime receiver taking up the cap space. But several teams will want receiving help ahead of the deadline. And if the G-men try, they should be able to find a buyer for Tate. Like the Jets with Bell, the Giants really need to rid themselves of Tate's contract. Philadelphia Eagles, Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey can still be an impact player, but much like Philly's entire receiving core, he struggled to stay healthy. Perhaps a fresh start somewhere else will help him in that regard. And the Eagles need the cap room, so they ought to trade him ahead of the deadline, before his value decreases any further. Pittsburgh Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster. With all the young pass-catching talent that the Steelers have been adding over the past couple seasons, perhaps it makes sense for them to look into shopping Smith-Schuster before his rookie contract expires. They've never been afraid to move on from a star wideout, so Juju remaining in Pittsburgh over the long haul is certainly no guarantee. San Francisco 49ers, Tevin Coleman. With Raheem Mostert and Jerick McKinnon in the backfield, the 49ers don't need Coleman. Kyle Shanahan can make it work with any running back, and GM John Lynch is one of the best when it it comes to drafting. So why not trade Coleman for a late round pick, knowing you could very well strike gold with that selection? Seattle Seahawks, KJ Wright. This is the final season of Wright's contract. Could Pete Carroll and John Schneider decide to deal Wright for draft capital? Knowing he's likely leaving next year, the Seahawks are short on picks after trading for Jamal Adams, and Wright is a valuable trade chip. Just something to think about. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, O.J. Howard. You don't need 3 good tight ends, especially when you have 2 superstar wide receivers and a very crowded backfield. Why are the Bucs obsessing with pass catchers so much? Trade O.J. Howard for some offensive line or secondary help. Tom Brady doesn't need 10 offensive weapons here. Not to mention that Bruce Arians really doesn't like using tight ends in his offense. Tennessee Titans, Corey Davis. Davis couldn't build off what appeared to be a breakout year in 2018, and A.J. Brown stepped up as the new lead receiver for Ryan Tannehill in 2019. Davis might intrigue several teams on the trade market. The skill set and big playability is all there. If the Titans still aren't satisfied with his production, why not just trade him for a draft pick before he leaves in 2021 free agency? It's an easy call if you ask us. Washington football team, Ryan Kerrigan. The veteran Pro Bowl linebacker showed signs of declining in 2019. Washington is also loaded with rising young stars in the front 7, namely Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and Deron Payne. This is a rebuilding club, and they have to sell off their veterans for pieces that will help the rebuild. Betcha they can get a 3rd round pick or quality roster player for Kerrigan. This is the time to trade the fan favorite. His trade value won't get any higher from here. Which player do you want your favorite NFL team to trade this season? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, we're on everything. Go find us, go subscribe, go follow. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click down below. And of course, subscribe to TPS. I post videos every day. Every day is a new video. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.